What's up, YouTube? It's Battlescar. In recent years, the EU regulators have been absolute legends when it comes to passing consumer-focused regulations. Like, seriously, they have just been swinging at large, and when the EU says jump, big companies don't even have time to ask how high because they're already mid-air. You'll all recall them forcing all of the major phone brands to switch to USB Type-C charging to cut down on electronic waste, and just because it performed better. They cracked down on microtransactions and a lot of underage gambling tropes and a lot of other tropes in the industries. Now, this week, there has been a story making the rounds saying that the EU has passed regulation requiring phone companies to have all of their products have user-replaceable batteries. And manufacturers also have to provide spare parts and manuals for at least 10 years after the phone's release. That is a very, very big win for consumers because for the longest time, and let's be honest, it really is no secret that a lot of cell phone manufacturers have introduced planned failure in some components of the phone, but most often the battery, that after like 2 years or so go massively tits up. And then the battery itself needs to be replaced by the brand for a very expensive cost, or the whole phone needs to be bloody replaced. Alternatively, at least what this aims to do is to stop consumers having to walk around like they've got Sony Walkmans again, carrying around cables and things because they're carrying power banks to keep their phone on life support. Now, unfortunately, this practice is as old as time itself, or at least the early 2000s. Companies have made planned failure in pretty much everything from laptops to refrigerators to televisions and everything to basically keep you buying their products and doing it often. But to be a bit more specific about the regulations, there are 3 separate requirements, each that needs to be satisfied. So number 1, all required tools must be commercially available to do the replacement. Secondly, no specialized tools, unless it's included for free in the purchase, is permissible. And 3, no proprietary tools, thermal energy, or solvents for disassembly are allowed. Now, Apple, specifically, their current self-service repair store does not work at a minimum, specifically because it does require specialized tools that are not included for free with the purchase of the phone. And secondly, it also requires thermal energy for disassembly. There is 2 catches to this, though. First of all, this really isn't new news. I have honestly no idea why this is cropping up now all of a sudden and it's just gone viral, but I have seen so many articles about this the last 2 days. I did a quick search on Reddit, and as you can see, it really seems like the story has suddenly gained massive traction all of a sudden. I'm really not sure why, but maybe it's because the February 2027 deadline is approaching. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something. But the second catch, and this really is the very big catch, is there seems to be an exemption in the regulation. Specifically, that if the battery performance of the phone is at least 80% after 1,000 charge cycles, then you do not have to comply and you don't have to introduce user replaceable batteries. Now, that's really interesting and very specific because Apple have upped their 80% battery performance specifically to 1,000 charges over the last couple of years, I think from 2023 to 2024 onwards, which basically means that Apple might actually be able to get themselves excused from this, which really, really does suck because I know a lot of my friends who do have Apples and family members that have Apples, they specifically complain a lot about battery performance after the first 2 or so years. What's extra weird is that there have been rumors going around as early as 2024 that Apple have been experimenting with electrically induced adhesive debonding, which is a lot of words, but it basically means shocking the phone until the battery comes loose, obviously without exploding the fucking thing. So it might be that Apple is keeping this in their back pocket as a backup plan, just in case they're forced to make the battery replacements anyway. What's weird is that you'll remember one of the requirements is that the required tools for the replacement need to be commercially available. So if Apple wants to follow this route, then I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work. I don't think your average Joe has like fucking Tesla coil in the backyard shed that they can just stand under for a couple of seconds to dislodge the phone battery. But what do I know? I make YouTube videos. Anyway, the deadline in February of next year is approaching quite quick, and there really isn't a lot of time left. So I'm quite excited to see how things play out and whether companies are going to play along and what kind of things they're going to do, probably to try and work around it, get out of it more like. I think it is overall a really good move and a big win for consumers, but let's see what happens first, I guess. Anyway, I just kind of wanted to talk about it. Thought it was quite interesting. Have a good one. Cheers.